The cameras were rolling, the studio audience was clapping, and the iconic theme music had just faded out when something unusual happened on Live with Kelly and Mark. Viewers tuned in expecting the usual blend of banter, laughter, and lighthearted morning energy. Instead, they got an unfiltered moment that left co-host Mark Consuelos visibly furious, Kelly Ripa caught between laughter and shock, and a producer red-faced after an unexpected jab spiraled into a moment no one in the studio could have predicted. It all began during the opening host chat segment. Kelly was recounting a funny story about their weekend, and Mark was grinning along, until a voice from off-camera interrupted. That voice, belonging to one of the longtime Live producers, suddenly cut through the broadcast with what was intended to be a playful remark, but it quickly went south. "Careful, Mark," the producer teased. "Don't get too comfortable. You might not have this job for long after today's news." The audience laughed nervously, assuming it was part of a bit. But Mark's face changed instantly. His smile stiffened, his jaw tightened, and for a moment he stared directly at the producer's offstage booth with a look that could burn holes through glass. Kelly's eyes went wide as if to say, "Did that just happen on live television?" The news nobody expected. The upsetting news the producer was referring to wasn't a firing, but it wasn't good either. Right after the joke, he revealed that Live would be undergoing a programming shakeup in the coming months. Due to network scheduling changes, their time slot would be shortened by 10 minutes to make room for a new news brief. It was the kind of change producers usually keep polished and professional when announcing to viewers. But the mocking jab before the reveal made the situation far more tense. "This isn't exactly how I pictured starting my Monday," Mark muttered on air, his tone dripping with irritation. He shifted in his chair and tugged at his suit jacket, clearly struggling to mask his emotions. Kelly, ever the professional, tried to smooth things over. "Well, 10 minutes less of us means 10 minutes more coffee for our viewers," she quipped. But the awkwardness in the room lingered. Mark's reaction, more than just annoyance. Mark Consuelos isn't new to television. From his days on All My Children to his long-running role on Riverdale, he's weathered plenty of tense moments on set. But this was different. This wasn't scripted, and it wasn't something he could simply laugh off. He looked furious, one studio audience member later shared on social media. You could see his eyes narrow, and his whole body language shifted. It felt like he was personally insulted, not just teased. Indeed, to Mark, the joke struck a nerve. Since joining his wife on Live, he's faced public skepticism and criticism from some who doubted whether the husband and wife duo could maintain the show's energy. The producer's jab, even if meant in jest, touched on those insecurities in front of a live audience. Kelly steps in as peacemaker. Kelly Ripa, ever the veteran, jumped quickly into host mode. She leaned across the desk, touching Mark's hand lightly as if to ground him, and cracked another joke. "You know, Mark's actually very good at keeping his job. He's been my husband for almost 3 decades, and trust me, that's harder than any morning show gig." The audience laughed, tension broke slightly, and Mark managed a half smile. But his eyes kept flicking toward the producer's booth, making it clear he wasn't letting this go. Behind-the-scenes fallout. During the commercial break, insiders say the energy backstage was just as tense as it appeared on screen. Mark reportedly confronted the producer about the comment, calling it disrespectful and unnecessary. Crew members described the exchange as heated, with Kelly once again stepping in to defuse the situation. "It wasn't that the news was so bad," said one insider. "It was the way it was presented, like a joke at Mark's expense. He's worked hard to prove himself here, and having that undermined live on air felt like a betrayal." Viewers react online. As with any unfiltered live TV moment, social media exploded within minutes. Clips of Mark's reaction circulated on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram, with fans weighing in. "I don't blame him for looking furious. That was so unprofessional of the producer. Mark needs to toughen up, it was just a joke." Kelly saved the day as usual. She's the queen of turning awkward into funny. The divide was clear. Some sympathized with Mark's frustration, while others thought he overreacted. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing: the moment was must-see television. The larger question, is Mark under pressure? This incident highlighted something bigger than just a poorly timed joke. Since stepping into Regis Philbin and Michael Strahan's former role, Mark has been under a microscope. His chemistry with Kelly is undeniable, but critics often accuse the show of being too couple-focused or worry that Mark doesn't bring the same energy as his predecessors. The producer's quip, whether intentional or not, seemed to echo those criticisms, right in front of millions of viewers. For Mark, who prides himself on professionalism, that sting was hard to mask. Kelly and Mark address it later. By the end of the show, both Kelly and Mark appeared calmer. Kelly, with her signature mix of charm and sarcasm, addressed the elephant in the room during the final segment. "Well, we made it through, even with some unexpected news and, shall we say, color commentary from our team," she joked. Mark added, still a bit stiff but trying to play along, "Live television, folks. You never know who's going to try to get the last word." The audience chuckled, but the undercurrent was clear. The wound might have been patched up for now, but it wasn't forgotten. What's next for Live? The time slot reduction is real, and while it may not seem like a huge change, it represents the delicate balancing act daytime television faces in 2025. With streaming platforms drawing viewers away, networks are desperate to reformat schedules. Live remains a ratings powerhouse, but the decision showed that even established shows aren't immune. As for Mark, insiders suggest he'll likely be more cautious and more vocal about how behind-the-scenes staff treat him on air going forward. Final thoughts. The episode will be remembered not for its celebrity guest or cooking demo, but for that raw, unscripted flash of emotion. Morning shows thrive on spontaneity, but this moment proved there's a fine line between playful banter and undermining a host's credibility. For Mark Consuelos, it was a test, one that revealed both his vulnerability and his determination to be taken seriously. For Kelly Ripa, it was another reminder of why she's the steady anchor of the franchise. And for viewers, it was proof that live TV still has the power to surprise. After all, in an age of polished streaming content, sometimes it's the unplanned, furious glare of a host at his own producer that keeps us tuning in.